Good evening. Let us meet each other exactly where we are, not where we wish to be, not where the headlines insist we must be, but here. I know what follows many of you into this room: the private tremors over the body, the budget, the child, the diagnosis, the public sirens of markets and weather and nations. One atmosphere, many costumes. It calls itself anxiety, threat, lack, crisis. It parades as tomorrow's dread and today's tightness in the chest. Let us name it plainly, without joining it: fear. And then at once let us ask, what is fear? Do you see that? We are not fixing it. We are not wrestling it to the mat. We are identifying its premise so that we need not lend it our consent. Fear, at its root, is not a condition. It is a conclusion. It is the verdict that there are two powers in this universe: good and evil, spirit and matter, God and something else, and that these two are locked in struggle, and you are the battlefield. The moment you accept that, the logic of fear is complete. It needs no further evidence. If matter can threaten spirit, if circumstance can threaten God, if a second cause can arise to oppose the first, then of course you must defend, protect, ensure, and worry. Do you see that? The whole edifice stands on the acceptance of two. Now here is the gentle, radical question that will thread our entire time together. If there is only one power, what becomes of the thing you fear? Not as a slogan, oh, we can all recite those. Not as a belief added to other beliefs, but as recognition. If there is one power, one law, one cause, where does the adversary stand? Upon what foundation? What law supports it? Do you see that? We are not seeking your agreement. We are inviting your seeing. Agreement is cheap. Recognition is power. Understand at once what I am promising and what I am not. I am not here to inspire you for an evening, to patch up a mood until the next headline breaks. I am not here to improve your conditions. We are here for demonstration in consciousness, for uncovering what already is. There is no future tense in truth. God is. Is. I am. When the isness of God is recognized as the only presence, fear's problem dissolves, because its premise dissolves. Do you see that? We are not ignoring appearances. We are refusing to grant them a second cause. We are not closing our eyes. We are opening them to oneness. One power, one law, one cause. This is not bravado. It is the quiet practice of reality. Tonight, we begin by withdrawing our consent from the assumption that there are two. Don't try to do something to fear. Don't beat it. Don't bargain with it. Simply see its dependence on a belief that cannot stand in God. Sit with that. Let the mind ask, if there is only one, what becomes of this threat? And wait a breath. Do you see that? In that simple, honest question, the war inside loses its ground. We will proceed step by step, not to make truth true, but to discover that it is already so. Fear does not need thunder and lightning to be born. It needs only a small word, a courteous word, a reasonable word. But God can help, but this disease has a history. Prayer is good, but the government has the power. Spirit is real, but heredity is stronger. I know God is love, but accidents happen. Do you see that? In that little conjunction, you have admitted a second cause, a rival law, a competing presence, and the whole machinery of fear can now run on its own. You need not be a philosopher to be hypnotized by two powers. You need only let that but stand unchallenged in your thought, and at once you will begin calculating. Percentages, odds, timelines, risk management. Of course you will, because if there are two, you must defend yourself against the stronger of the two in any given hour. One power, one law, one cause. Do you see that? Watch how time is drafted as fear's chief witness. What may happen tomorrow? What could return next month? How long will it take? What if it's too late? The mind projects a film strip of future scenes and then asks you to bow to the most frightening frame. Why? Because you have let truth be postponed. You have allowed reality to be written in the future tense. And there is no future tense in truth. The Lord is my shepherd. Not will be. Not after sufficient piety or improved blood work. Is. God is. Is. I am. The instant you restore truth to isness, time loses its teeth. The instant you concede it to later, fear erects its city and sends you an address. Do you see that? Now distinguish this clearly. Human optimism is an opinion about the outcome of a two-power struggle. It is, I hope good will win this round. I hope prayer will tip the scales. It is still two powers and a scoreboard. Spiritual realization is not that. Spiritual realization beholds no opponent to God. It does not hope for victory. It witnesses the absence of an enemy. It does not promise that spirit will outmuscle matter. It knows there is no second substance called matter with law to enforce itself. One power, one law, one cause. Do you see that? The relief is not that good is stronger. The relief is that only God is. As soon as you take two, you must build systems, you must strategize, you must fret over timing. You have bought the entire logic of fear, and it will charge you interest every hour. Withdraw the purchase. Catch the but as it leaves your lips and let it fall to the floor. Replace it with is. God is the life here. Period. Not comma. Not but. You will feel the mind reach for its favorite questions. How soon? How likely? How much proof? And you will answer none of them. Not because you are careless, but because you are faithful to is. There is no future tense in truth. One power, one law, one cause. Do you see that? In that fidelity, fear's narrative cannot proceed. Its premise has been denied the stage. Now we come to the point that ends the argument, not with noise, but with removal of its ground. There is only one power, and it is God. Not one major power and several minors. Not one for Sunday and another for Monday's bills. One power, one law, one cause. If you accept that, truly accept it, you have pulled the foundation stone from under what you fear. It may still chatter for a moment as a habit. It may still parade as sensation or headline, but it has no law, no cause, no sustaining life of its own. Do you see that? Let us be clear about what this does not mean. This is not denial of your human experience. When pain knocks, it knocks. When a letter arrives, it arrives. We do not pretend it did not come. But we refuse to grant it divinity. We refuse to call it law. We refuse to bow before a second power with authority to interrupt God. We are not shutting our eyes. We are opening them to oneness. The difference is everything. To deny appearance is to lie. To deny its supposed law is to tell the truth. Do you see that? Now do the inner arithmetic. Very simply, very honestly. If God is omnipresent, where is the location of a second power? Name it. Point to it. Inside God? Impossible. There cannot be God and an opposite living within God. Outside God? There is no outside to omnipresence. If God is omnipotent, how much potency remains for disease, lack, accident, sin? Measure it. Weigh it. How much strength is left over after all power? None. And if God is omniscient, what mind is it that invents the threat and sustains the fear? What intelligence affirms its inevitability? Do you see that? You are watching a shadow claiming to be a substance, a rumor disguising itself as a statute. Remove the belief in two, and there is no law to enforce the rumor. So we come to the statement that is both sword and salve. God is. God is. God is. Let it be said not as a charm, not to make something happen, but as a recognition of what is already so. God is life here. God is law here. God is cause here. The mind will reach for explanation. Do not feed it. The body will reach for proof. Do not strain it. Sit, if only for one breath, in the bare isness until something inside yields. Not a fireworks display. A small, unforced settling. Shoulders drop. The jaw loosens. Thought pauses between words. That is the first click. The recognition you do not produce. The presence that makes two powers impossible. Do you see that? In that instant, the enemy collapses. Not because you out-argued it, but because it had no ground on which to stand. A picture without projector fades. A noise without source goes silent. You have not won a battle. You have refused to fund a war. One power, one law, one cause. Keep to that, and fear has nowhere to lodge, no statute to quote, no energy to borrow. God is. God is. God is. And in that isness, peace is not achieved. It is revealed. We must now bring this from theology into identity. It is one thing to nod that there is one power. It is another to discover that what you have been calling me is not a private creature standing across from God, begging or bargaining. Much of your fear is not about headlines at all. It is about a sense of a separate, self-powered person who can be hurt, who must provide, who must defend. Do you see that? Two powers hides itself as two identities, God somewhere, you somewhere else, and between those 2 points, anxiety thrives. The correction is not bigger courage for a little person. The correction is the as secret, not God and man. God as man. Hear it and let it rearrange the furniture of your thought. God appearing as the individual. God as your very life, as your intelligence, as your capacity, as your safety and supply. If this seems abstract, take a homely thing and look. Here is glass. Through the craftsman's shaping, this same glass appears as a tumbler. Substance and form. Are there two things? One called glass over here and another called tumbler over there? No. The tumbler is glass appearing. If you chip the tumbler, have you harmed glass as substance? No, you have marred a concept about form. The substance remains what it is. Do you see that? Step by step. First, substance, glass. Then, form, the tumbler. But the two are not two. They are one substance in expression. Now translate this without losing the simplicity. God is the substance of being. You, as you are in truth, are not a second life. You are that one life appearing. You are not a mind beside mind. You are mind expressed as your awareness. Not a love beside love. Love living as your heart. God as you. God as your life. Do you see that? Then where is the separate self who must fear? Where is the private organism to be broken, the private bank to be drained, the private talent to be measured? When you live as a self apart, fear is logical. When you see God appearing as your very being, fear has no object to cling to. Apply it. If your being is God appearing, what can be added to you? Can anyone bring an extra ounce of God to your life? What can be taken from you? Can a thief steal God from God? What can be broken in you? Can disease fracture the substance of spirit? Name the place where threat could enter. Inside God? Impossible. Outside God? There is no outside to omnipresence. One power, one substance as your form. Even our grammar wants to testify, though school teachers may fuss. I and the Father is one. Do you see that? Not two to be united, one already. Take this not as slogan, but as seeing. Sit until the click, until you feel the quiet knowing that the life you are is not borrowed, not at risk, not waiting. Don't try to do something. Don't try to change something. Recognize as. Whisper within, not to a distant deity, but to presence. Father, not beside me, not over me, as me. God is as me. Is. I am. Let the shoulders drop. Let the breath unforce itself. Fear will look for its old perch and find none. God as you. God as your life. Do you see that? Here the separate self fades, the war ends before it starts, and peace is not achieved, it is revealed. We have said as, now we must say is. Because even after you glimpse God appearing as your life, the mind will offer you a polite delay. Wonderful. Now let's wait for it to show. Do you see that? Waiting is fear's last address. It sets up residency in when. When the test comes back. When the bonus clears. When I have practiced enough. When I am worthy. And fear sighs with relief, because as long as you grant it a future, it can keep its office open. But there is no future tense in truth. God is. Is. I am. Listen to the divine self-identification that has no calendar. I am. Not I will be if you behave. Not I was yesterday when you felt inspired. I am. Hear the shepherd song that never retires. The Lord is my shepherd. Not will be when the valley brightens. Is. This present tense is the end of postponement, and therefore the end of fear's logic. For fear lives on the interest you pay to tomorrow. Stop the payments, and the account closes. Do you see that? So we make a practical pivot. Each time you catch yourself saying, "I hope it works out," replace it with, "God is here." When you hear, "someday," answer, "now." When the mind drafts letters to next week, return the mail. Address unknown, omnipresence. This is not stubbornness. It is fidelity to reality. Harmony is not on the way. Harmony is the way things are in God, and God is the way of your being. Say it softly. Say it honestly, not to convince, but to recognize. God is life here. God is law here. God is cause here. Is means is. God is. I am. Do you see that? Fear will attempt to negotiate. Fine, but let me keep my timeline. It will promise you consolation prizes. Soon. Refuse the bargain. Soon is the mirage that keeps you walking in circles in a desert that does not exist. You bend to drink, and your mouth fills with sand. Now is the well that does not run dry. Sit one moment and let all the stories about later dissolve like chalk in rain. No effort, no performing. Simply yield to the fact that what is true now, or it is not truth at all. Is means is. God is. I am. You will notice something quiet when you do this. The breath evens. The shoulders forget their assignment to hold up the sky. Thought pauses, then bows. That is the inner click. Not a spectacle, a certainty. It does not shout. It makes shouting unnecessary. And in that stillness, the argument ends, because the courtroom of time has been dismissed. One power, present. One law, present. One cause, present. Do you see that? Abide here. Don't try to do something. Do not reach for later. Live in is. And as you rest in is, the thing you feared discovers it has nowhere to stand, nowhere to grow, no hour left in which to live. God is. Is. I am. Now let us place the lens where it belongs. This will sound severe if heard with the old ears, so listen with the inner ear that recognizes love. There is no such thing as an externalized illusion. The illusion is not in the world. The illusion is within our acceptance of a second power about the world. Do you see that? A headline has no voice until you supply it your breath. A diagnosis has no gavel until you enthrone it as law. A balance sheet cannot pronounce a sentence. It is your consent that clothes a number with authority. I am not scolding. I am identifying the only point at which freedom is possible, and therefore, the point of relief. Consider a child at the end of the street, staring down the rails. "Look," he cries. "The tracks meet. They meet down there." Do you see it? His eyes report convergence, and his heart is ready to swear by it. But nothing has happened to the rails. Something has happened in the seeing. Or take the mountain with a cloud on its brow. Stand far enough away, and you will testify with all sincerity, "The rock is smoking." But touch the mountain, stone is stone. Touch the cloud, mist is mist. The appearance was compelling. It was not true. So with disease, with war, with the economy. The picture may be loud, the law behind it is absent unless we provide it from within. I know how quickly the mind answers, but these things are real. They touch millions. Yes, the picture of converging tracks is also real to every traveler who trusts his eyes. Yet no engineer need correct a single rail to give us safety. He drives by what is, not by what seems. Do you see that? If you seek to fix the entire horizon, you will exhaust yourself and call it righteousness. If you withdraw the private consent that grants law to appearance, you will be free and, oddly enough, more useful to your neighbor than panic could ever make you. This is the relief. You do not have to repair the world to live in peace. You do not have to silence every drum of war or vaccinate every fear image of disease. You must withdraw power from the belief in a second power within your own consciousness. That is the only place fear is hired. That is the only place it can be let go. Withdraw your consent. One power. Do you see that? Watch the very moment fear crosses your threshold. It is not when the report arrives. It is when you say within, "This has authority. This has cause. This has law." In that instant, the picture borrows your life to frighten you with your own light. Stop the loan. Return life to life. Quietly, gently, without argument, say inside, God is the only cause here. God is the only law here. God is the only power here. Is means is. God is. I am. Do not try to do something to the picture. Do not push the cloud or straighten the rails. Sit until the click. Let presence make two powers impossible. Then look again. The same headlines may pass before you, but they will not find lodging. The same wind may press the cloud to the mountain, but you will know what is cloud and what is rock. And because you are not fooled, you will walk as one under one power, calm, available, practical, without the old taxation of dread. Withdraw your consent. One power. Do you see that? Now that you have seen where the illusion takes its wages, only within the acceptance of a second power, let us correct the aim of this work. Because if the aim is wrong, the labor is endless. We are not trying to make a frightened human a little braver. We are not polishing the old sense to pass inspection. We are witnessing the disappearance of that false sense altogether. Healing is not repair. Healing is revelation. It is the unveiling of what is spiritually so, where the old picture seemed to stand. Do you see that? If you try to become a better version of a separate self, you doom yourself to future maintenance. If you accept God appearing as your being, the self that required maintenance is found to have no owner. Hear the antithesis, and let it remove strain. Not a sick man made well. The new creature revealed where sick man seemed to be. Not a frightened mind comforted. The mind of Christ recognized as your very awareness, in which fear has no lineage and no passport. Turn on a light in a dark room. Do you chase the shadows with a broom? You haven't seen fear get better. You have seen it vanish in the light. Do you see that? We are not coaxing shadows to behave. We are acknowledging the presence of light, and in that isness, the shadow cannot audition. One power, one law, one cause. This is why, when it happens, it feels instantaneous. The new does not convalesce, it appears. The old does not improve, it yields. There is no future tense in truth. The Lord is my shepherd. God is. is. I am. When the click of presence is felt, small, unforced, undeniable, the timeline you were servicing evaporates. No steps remain between reality and itself. One does not count minutes for the sun to become sunlight. Sun is light as it appears. So with God as your life. Do you see that? Bring this straight to fear. Fear is not an enemy to wrestle, nor a habit to taper. Wrestle and you certify two powers. Taper and you schedule a future. Recognition ends both. When fear surfaces, it is the old sense knocking, saying, I am a self apart, at risk, responsible to other laws. Do not negotiate with that voice. Let it dissolve in the recognition, I and the Father is one. God is my life as this life. God is my law as this being. God is my cause as this moment. As and is. Sit without trying to do something until the inner court falls silent. Then look. The noise you called fear is not improved. It is absent. Do not be content with a patched-up humanhood. Old things are passed away. Behold, all things are become new. Not morally scrubbed, but newly seen. The man at the pool does not practice better crawling. He stands. He drops his humanhood, and you now witness Christ. Won't that be nice? It is more than nice. It is normal in God. And it is not reward for endurance. It is recognition of what is. Never give up. Never give up. Time means nothing. If it is 5 minutes, 5 days, or 5 years, the appearing is the same. The new creature where fear was. So when the heartbeat quickens, do not apply courage to the old identity. Let the old identity be excused. Say within, gently and without argument, God is the only power here. God is the only law here. God is the only cause here, as me, now. Then wait. Not for a sign, for a click. When it comes, do you see what has occurred? Not a fearful person made calmer, but the fearful person no longer found. You haven't seen fear get better. You have seen it vanish in the light. Do you see that? Here is freedom, not improvement, revelation. And in revelation, peace is not achieved. Peace is. Now let us look at why proof offends the senses, and why it must. The senses report a schedule, and call it law. The body says, this type of wound mends in 6 weeks. The chart says, these readings decline in predictable stages. The specialist says, this course will extend over months, if at all. The calendar nods, the clock consents, and fear takes its seat as magistrate. But stop and ask the only saving question. What law is this? Who ordained it? One power. Do you see that? I am not asking you to argue with a thermometer. I am asking you to remove divinity from a timetable. Take a simple case. Pain announces itself. The physician gives a sequence. First swelling, then stiffness, then guarded movement. Reasonable, yes. But when the click of presence is felt, small, unforced, undeniable, the guarded movement appears before its appointment. Not a schedule accelerated by force, a schedule found to have no author in God. What law is this? Who ordained it? If there is one law, where did this other statute obtain its seal? One power. Do you see that? Another case. The world says supply must pass through channels, interviews, approvals, delays. Budget cycles, they tell you, are the arteries of provision. And so fear lives on the calendar of next quarter. But when you abide in God as your cause, as your very being, supply rises from where it had no corridor the day before. Because cause is not in a manager's hand, cause is God. What law is this that claims the corridor has jurisdiction over life? Who ordained it? One power, one law, one cause. Do you see that? Or consider affection estranged by history. These things take years, the counselor sighs. Yes, if the second power called memory is enthroned as law. But sit until Emmanuel is felt. Wait for presence. Then a word is given from a place outside of grievance, and the frost that was scheduled to last 3 winters is simply not found. Not because you performed diplomacy, but because time was never the shepherd of love. What law is this? Who ordained it? One power. Do you see that? Fear depends on prediction. It borrows its breath from what comes next. The moment the prediction loses its authorization, fear has no script, no paycheck. It weakens immediately, not by your courage, but by lack of law. This is not tempting fate. This is refusing to believe in fate. This is not defiance of process. This is withdrawal of worship from a process that never received divine commission. Don't try to do something. Don't try to change something. Sit in is until the click. Then, if action is given, act from presence, not from panic's calendar. Here is the crux. Matter's so-called law has no charter under omnipotence. It can predict, but it cannot ordain. Once you see that, the senses may protest. But look, but feel. And you will answer with the only answer that ends the case. God is the only power here. God is the only law here. God is the only cause here, as me, now. What law is this? Who ordained it? One power. Do you see that? In that recognition, the scaffolding of fear falls away, and proof, which formerly insulted your senses, becomes the natural appearing of is. God is. Is. I am. Let me give you something small and honest, not as a gimmick, not as a charm, but as a door you can open anywhere. 1 minute. 60 seconds in which you refuse to negotiate with fear, refuse to fund 2 powers, and let presence have the floor. A minute is not holy as a clock. It is holy as consent. It gathers your scattered attention and says, now. Do you see that? Here is the protocol. Simple, exact, and unhurried. First, stop trying to change anything. Lay down your tools, your rehearsals, your corrections. Don't try to do something. Don't try to change something. Second, notice the 2-power argument at work. Catch the but, the timeline, the odds, the history. See the whole courtroom that fear has built in your thought. Third, declare one power, softly, without strain. One power, one law, one cause. Fourth, rest in is. God is. Not as petition, as recognition. Fifth, ask inwardly, very honestly, where is the second power? Name its location if you can. Inside God? Outside omnipresence? Where? Then be still. Wait for the click. Give your minute a cadence that carries you, like a boat on a quiet river. Whisper within, God is. There is only God. God is appearing as. I live in is. Let those words be not magic, but meaning. Let them ring until your shoulders forget their assignment. God is. There is only God. God is appearing as. I live in is. Do you see that? What changes in this minute? Not necessarily the picture. The letters may still sit in the inbox. The report may still say what it says. What changes is the inner consent that gave the picture its breath, its badge, its borrowed authority. The loan is called in, and when fear cannot collect interest from tomorrow, it begins to evaporate now. You feel it as a settling, a small certainty that does not need to shout. That is the click. Presence, not a second power beside fear, but the revelation that two powers never were. Do you see that? If the click comes in 5 seconds, that is the minute's harvest. If it seems not to come, stay anyway. Remember, time means nothing. When the gong of the clock hits 60, you are free to continue. Never give up. Never give up. But do not push. Abide. Practice the same steps gently. Stop doing, notice the two, declare one, rest in is. Ask, where is the second? The question itself exposes the lie, for you cannot place a second outside omnipresence, and you cannot insert it within. Is means is. God is. I am. Carry this door into your day. Before you answer the call, before you read the headline, before you open the bill, 1 minute. You are not postponing action. You are refusing to act under hypnosis. When the minute ends, let any action be given, not grabbed. Then you will speak from presence, and even if the outer picture has not yet changed, the war inside has ended for lack of an enemy. God is. There is only God. God is appearing as. I live in is. Do you see that? Now comes the strangest command you will ever receive in a world addicted to effort. Don't try to do something. When fear knocks, notice the reflex. Mind races to plan, to control, to manipulate outcomes, and then, with a solemn face, calls that anxiety prayer. Do you see that? We rearrange furniture in a dark room and congratulate ourselves that the layout is now safe. Fear applauds because all that straining accepts its premise. There are two powers, and you must fight. Effort fights fear on fear's terms. Recognition ends the contest by denying two powers. So here at Plain, without embroidery. Don't try to heal. Don't try to change. Don't try to force peace. Abide in what is. Sit until the click. Do not manufacture a click. Stop trying. Start recognizing. Do you see that? Let your inner posture be this. One power is the only context here. One law is the only government here. One cause is the only origin here. The moment you begin to make something happen, you have signed an agreement that something other than God is happening. Tear up the contract. Be still. Recognize. Why does this work? Because of as and is. God appearing as the individual removes the private doer from the throne. If God is the very life, intelligence, and activity showing forth as you, who is left to manage God? And is, present tense isness, removes the schedule from your hands. There is no future tense in truth. The Lord is now. God is now. I and the Father is one, now. Yes, the grammar teacher may frown, but the soul will smile. When as and is are felt, personal will has no job description. Presence is its own performer. Let me lighten this for you. You are not earning God. You are noticing God. No spiritual push-ups to qualify for grace. No extra credit for furrowed brows. Won't that be nice? You may even find the shoulders, which have been trying to hold up the sky, resign from the position. Good. The sky never needed you. God is. Here is the practice in the heat of it. The impulse to fix surges. Pause. Whisper, one power. Then ask, where is the second power? Name it if you can. Inside God, outside omnipresence, and wait. Do nothing until you feel the simple, unforced settling, the click. If action is then given, it will not be nervous, it will be natural. If no action is given, do not invent one to satisfy the habit of urgency. Time means nothing. Stop trying. Start recognizing. Do you see that? Abiding is not passivity. It is fidelity to reality. In abiding, you refuse to fund the counterfeit with your attention. In recognizing, you discover that peace is not produced, it is unveiled. And fear, finding no opponent, no theater, no law, simply has no play to stage. God is. There is only God. God is appearing as. I live in is. Stop trying. Start recognizing. Do you see that? We have come to the doorway where effort ends and authority begins. The felt presence. Without it, our finest words are noise. Sincere noise, yes, but still noise. With it, a whisper is enough. Do you see that? The work is not done by assertion, not by repeating phrases as charms. The work is done from realization, from that quiet certainty which does not need to argue because it has no opponent to convince. Wait for presence, then speak. Accept God be with him. Do not try them. Do you see that? What is this click I ask you to honor? It is not fireworks. More often, it is a warmth that asks nothing. A stillness that does not perform. A simple recognition. Emmanuel, God with us. Sometimes it steals in as a soft breath that evens itself. Sometimes as a weightless certainty, like a key turning without effort. It is not emotion, though emotion may accompany it. It is not thought, though thought may testify after it. It is the fact of one felt as your very being. In that instant, two powers become impossible. Not denied with clenched teeth, impossible. Do you see that? So sit in meditation until you feel that presence. Time means nothing. 5 minutes, 5 days, 5 years. It makes no difference to what is. We are not waiting for God. We are waiting until our agitation tires of itself and yields to the God that is already here. Never give up. Never give up. There is no future tense in truth. Therefore, your waiting is not delay. It is surrender to now. Let thought tumble and settle, like snow in a shaken globe returning to rest, until you can say without reaching, God is. Is, is, is. I am. Be kindly warned against performance. Anxiety is not a platform from which to demonstrate. It is a signal to be still. Do not race to speak healing words because silence feels awkward. That is acting for an audience named fear. Let fear have no theater in you. Let it starve for lack of stage. Sit until the click. If it comes quickly, good. If not, do not manufacture it. Do you see that? A sentence spoken without presence adds weight to the scales of two powers. A silence kept in presence removes the scales altogether. Here is your simple posture. One power, one law, one cause. God is appearing as my very life. I live in is. Ask within, gently, where is the second power? Then be quiet. When the click is felt, if a word is given, speak tenderly and without strain. If an action is given, it will be natural, never nervous. If nothing is given, keep the sanctuary. The word does not shout to prove itself. It simply is, and is enough. Let this become your way. With headlines, with diagnoses, with family conversations. Wait for presence, then speak. If they press you, smile within and wait one breath longer. Presence is the only authority we carry. Everything else is costume. Never give up. Never give up. Do you see that? The end of fear is not a technique. It is the felt presence that makes two powers impossible. And when the click is here, the heart answers with its own mantra. God is. There is only God. God is appearing as. I live in is. Is. I am. Now let us carry this into the street where you live. Oneness is not a retreat from life. It is the only stable way to face life without fear. Presence does not excuse us from headlines, from bodies that feel, from people who disappoint. It equips us to meet them without consenting to a second power. One power in the midst of the appearance. Do you see that? First, headlines, collective fear. The two-power claim here is loud. Numbers with teeth, experts with gospels, maps with destinies. The suggestion is that events out there have a law apart from God, and you at home must bow or rage. Do you see that? Pause. 1 minute if you can. Whisper within, one power, one law, one cause. Then speak very softly to the image. This has no law. There is no power in this appearance. The Lord is my shepherd. Ask, where is the second power? Place it if you can. Inside God, outside omnipresence, and be still until the click. From that stillness, take whatever human step is given. Vote, write, serve, give, but do not grant the step the status of power or cause. The step is obedience, not origin. Presence is the origin. One power in the midst of the appearance. Do you see that? Second, the body, symptom fear. The two-power proposal is sensation as law. This means that, and that demands this timeline. Before you agree, sit. Breathe as if God is breathing you, because God is life as you. Say within, there is no power in this appearance. This has no law. God is the only law here. The Lord is my shepherd. Let as and is reframe identity. God appearing as this very life. God is now. If you are given to rest, rest. To call, call. To take a tablet, take it as you would open an umbrella in rain. You do not believe the umbrella causes the sun. Won't that be nice? Return thanks, not to chemistry as a second power, but to God as the only cause. Then watch. Fear loses its wages when you refuse to pay it with tomorrow. One power in the midst of the appearance. Do you see that? Third, relationships, rejection and control fear. The two-power story says another's will, history, or absence can author your peace. Do you see that? Bring in as God appearing as the individual, yourself and your brother. Bring in is God is present, now, as this meeting, as this call, as this silence. Whisper, there is no power in this appearance. This has no law. The Lord is my shepherd. Ask, where is the second power? Then wait. From the click, you may speak a clear truth. You may keep a holy silence. You may set a boundary without bitterness. You may forgive without theater. The action will be natural, never nervous. The peace will not be borrowed from their response. I and the Father is one. Therefore, I am not at the mercy of a second cause. One power in the midst of the appearance. Do you see that? Make this your rhythm. Before the article, before the pill, before the text, 1 minute. Don't try to do something. Recognize. Withdraw consent. Then let any step be given, not grabbed. Presence is the actor. You are its transparency. Never give up. Never give up. God is. There is only God. God is appearing as. I live in is. Is. I am. One power in the midst of the appearance. Do you see that? Let us grow quiet together, and let the word return to its own weight. Not a thought to juggle, not a philosophy to hold, just this. God is. Let it come as breath more than syllable. God is. God is. God is. Do you feel how the mind reaches, and then, gently, how it lets go? The Lord is my shepherd, now. Guidance, now. Provision, now. Safety, now. There is no future tense in truth. The green pasture is not a promise, it is the presence. The still water is not an itinerary, it is the now. Paths of righteousness are not a map in a drawer, they are the step under your foot. Do you see that? Hear the chain one last time, and let it be a chain that breaks chains. The belief in two powers manufactures fear. It is the entire logic of fear. The recognition of one power removes the floor from under the image you dreaded. As removes separation, God appearing as the individual, not God and an individual. Is removes waiting, truth present, not pending. And what remains when separation and delay are gone? Peace that is not borrowed, not strategized, not enforced. Peace revealed as your own being. God is. I am. Do you see that? Now let there be no ceremony between you and your next breath. 1 minute a day. Better, 1 minute before the next thing you do. Stop trying. Start recognizing. Whisper within. One power. One law. One cause. God is appearing as me. I live in is. Ask very quietly, where is the second power? Then wait. Wait for presence, the click, the small certainty that does not bargain. Persist until that click becomes so usual that you would no more leave home without it than you would leave without your shoes. Time means nothing. Never give up. Never give up. Do you see that? Say with the psalmist, but say it as your heartbeat. The Lord is my shepherd. I do not want. He leads me now. He restores me now. Though a shadowed valley should parade before these eyes, I fear no evil. For thou art with me now. Thy rod and thy staff, they comfort me now. A table in the very face of what threatened, now. My cup runs over, now. Goodness and mercy are not travelers I chase. They are the companions that cannot leave. There is no future tense in truth. God is. So I leave you with the seal that puts the pen down and opens the heart's own witness. If there is only one power, what becomes of the thing you fear? Do you see that? Do not answer me. Answer within. And then keep the answer in your minute until it ripens into the click. Abide in God is. Let as and is be your simple practice, your only theology, your quiet courage. And you will find, because it is so, that the thing you feared has no power, no law, no cause. God is. God is. God is. Is. I am.